it's quite clear that an investigation has taken place. They looked at the GPS data. They've looked at the camera in the vehicle and, of course, witness statements. So there's definitely a question of how that accident occurred, and it needs to be investigated.
Peter Bleksley, people were outraged yesterday when they saw that these two police officers, you know, heroically putting themselves in the line of danger, getting in their cars, driving at speed in order to save lives in Streatham. There's understandable outrage. On the other hand, what happens if there had been evidence of not driving carefully and other people were put at risk because of the actions of these police officers? Presumably that is what is under investigation.
Well, yes, there is an investigation here, but let me just give you an example. And I was one of the outraged, and I firmly remain so. Many years ago, we were doing covert surveillance. I was driving a high-powered car. I took a bend slightly too fast, straight onto the other side of the road and collided with a car, right? My fault. I got out. I apologised. Traffic police turned up, cautioned me. I was reported for driving without due care and attention. Months later, I went to court, admitted my guilt and got a fine. In fact, the magistrate didn't put any points on my licence because he understood the work I was doing and he thanked me for the work I was doing. I wasn't relieved of driving duties. I wasn't suspended from any kind of work whatsoever. I was allowed to get on with the job of catching villains. And these officers should be allowed to carry on with their job, which is, if required, shooting terrorists dead.
I totally agree. I'm sorry, Leroy, but why can we not apply exactly the same set of circumstances just outlined there to these two guys?
Well, as I said, the investigation...
Particularly as one of them wasn't even the one involved in the crash.
I agree. So there's obviously something that's definitely questionable about how that accident occurred and what happened directly afterwards.
Well, you're presuming that.
No, but...
Or it could be that health and safety, as it does with everything these days, has intervened and has actually decided to preliminary punish the... And you keep saying they're not being punished. They are being punished. They've already had restricted duties put on them, not allowed to do their job of driving police vehicles. If there's another terror attack on their patch tomorrow live, I want these guys, who are highly trained officers, to better go and deal with it, not to be stuck at home doing desk work because we've decided that they are the villains of that day.
Yeah, but like everything, we need to be seen that the police service are very professional.
Fine, so let the investigation take place. But why are you punishing them before that investigation is concluded?
Because the investigation is into the manner of their
and then
driving.
The thing is, you have to show that, you know, there's accountability and transparency. You know, especially there's someone been injured, allegedly, so as a result of that, even that injured person would like to see...
But they were racing to a terror attack, Leroy.
No, but
it wasn't like they were racing to some bog-standard robbery going on in Streatham High Road. They were racing to a guy...
Even that is serious, and that could have implications for people getting
but what they knew they were racing to was a potential terrorist killing people.
Yeah, absolutely. But what you don't want is police officers under that sort of pressure driving to those sorts of incidents who then have accidents.
And they don't even get there.
Well, of course you don't want them to have accidents, but sometimes they will.
Yeah, but you want an investigation into the circumstances.
What you don't want is to neuter them so that they can't do their job.
They're not going to be neutered.
Exactly.
They know what's required of them.
Proper coppers drive cars fast. Some coppers drive desks. And it's that kind of culture, including the Independent Office for Police Conduct, which is now potentially going to lead to highly trained police officers behind the wheel of a car thinking, should I slow down? Should I put further lives at risk?
Hang on, but hang on. The number of people dying in police car crashes has hit its highest level in a decade.
And that's volumes.
We want police officers to go quickly to incidents. But we don't want people dying in the process. So presumably there are ways of improving that which come out of investigations like this.
And it is continually under review. And, of course, we don't want people dying. But do you know what? I do not want people dying at the hands of terrorists because police officers are terrified to put their foot down and get there quick.
But we want that police officer who had the accident to get to the incident.
They're
we don't want
trained.
him crashing into a wall on the way there.
Accidents happen.
My point is, in the way that Peter was dealt with his thing, if there's an investigation and it concludes that there was genuine, bad, dangerous, negligent driving, then punish them. But to preemptively say, we are effectively finding you guilty in advance of this investigation, we are removing you from any driving duties, we're removing you from a lot of other stuff, I think is such a kick in the
Piers,
teeth
you've
to
just
people,
said
one of whom carried on
Yeah.
and threw himself right into danger.
But you're just saying,
in terms of this terror
if there is evidence of there being problems with the driving, but you can't establish that until you've...
Where's innocent or proven guilty?
How can a driving error be gross misconduct, which is what these officers are facing an investigation for?
Well,
gross misconduct, that's assaulting someone, that's stealing something.
No, it's not.
That's lying on oath.
No, it's
right?
not.
Having an accident.
Well, Peter, you might have an
police
issue, but the investigation has been triggered and
can I just come in here and just say clearly that obviously the IPC are not going to do this in isolation. They've got to do it with the Department for Professional Standards in the Met. So they haven't taken it lightly. They know there's going to be fallout from this. Yeah. And it's, you can always say, certain people drive desk and, that sort of gung-ho way of police being perceived, but we're a profession. And as a profession, you have to be open and accountable and definitely not seen to have one standard of law compared to members of the public.
These guys,
everyone knows they're trained and what's required of them.
I get it, but you know what? There's got to come a point when we don't let the job's worth take over to the extent that we neuter our police. These are highly trained guys. These are the best of the elite who are called upon when there's a terror attack to go in and risk their lives. That's what they were speeding towards. It wasn't some bog-standard police work.
But
this is about as important
saying about bog
and dangerous
standard,
as it
Piers.
gets.
Sometimes those bog-standard things can be just as dangerous as the counter-terrorism incident. And it's better to get there and deal with it efficiently than ending up in a wall. And if there's a question that the GPS data, the car camera and dash cam and witnesses...
What message does this send to all the other police,
it says that you have a high standard of behaviour, whether you're behind the wheel or not.
And if you do have a genuine accident as you're speeding to a terror attack...
Then the investigation will clear you.
No, the investigation doesn't happen first. We convict you effectively first by taking you off your job, off your duties. We prevent you from dealing with terror attacks until we decide whether or not you did something wrong. That's completely wrong, in my view.
For a car crash. And let's face it, anybody who drives in London for a living has had a bump, scrape, accident, or
but
what
this
is
wasn't
now
just a bump or a scrape.
A collision.
And someone was injured.
So we don't want people...
Come on. I mean, you have to look at this.
People were being stabbed. Streatham High Road by a terrorist.
Yeah, you don't want anyone else hurt.
On Streatham High Road on a regular basis.
That is the priority. And we have now punished these police officers for racing to do their job.
Those who protect us, those who do jobs that we, quite frankly, wouldn't want to do, should be given some degree of latitude and common sense should be applied.
They have a certain amount of latitude. When you're on a response, you can go through red lights, you can exceed the speed limit, so there is that latitude. But with all the instructions and the clarity of how they do their practical assessments
the bottom line,
and periodic testing, I would say they know what's required of them.
Leroy, most people on social media are supportive
social media would say all sorts of things. Come on.
OK, but they're still members of the public. Yep. They're entitled to their opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
They're watching the programme and they're responding, right? So don't denigrate them.
I'm not denigrating
Most of them are saying, just because you don't agree with them, don't denigrate them.
I'm not. Don't put words in my own mouth.
Well, you basically say people on social media, actually, they're entitled to views. Some of them are very articulate. They think, like I do and like Peter does, this is an overreaction. Some are saying the police are not above the law. I agree. They're not above the law, but we have preemptively punished them before the investigation's even been taken place.
You're perceiving as a punishment.
They're not doing their job.
But it happens,
Leroy,
on a regular basis.
If there's a terror attack tomorrow in Streatham High Road, these guys won't be driving to it. They're not doing their jobs. They've been punished.
No, this is not a one-off.
It would be like an investigation here and I'm taken off air. You're being punished. You're being found guilty preemptively.
Listen, I was subject to an allegation and I was given duties that prevented me from doing certain things, but I know innocent to proven guilty. Okay. That's exactly the standard.
We've got to leave it there. I think innocent till proven guilty should mean exactly that. And for an accident, a genuine, obvious... I didn't do it deliberately. Everyone knows that. For an accident, you should be allowed to continue in your job until or if an investigation concludes you did something seriously wrong. Then you can take punitive action if you need to.
Carrying on in their jobs, they're just not doing certain duties.
They're not going to be driving to terror attacks. That's
while
their
an
job.
investigation is underway
Well, they can
into
be a
their
passenger.
driving.
Right, we
They can
found
still
them.
be a passenger
We
in the
found them
vehicle.
guilty before there's been an investigation.
They're not found
I've-
guilty.
Well,
And
effect-
you're fueling that.
Well,
you're
you've-
fueling that narrative.
Sorry,
and,
they've
and
been-
that's why this theory is carrying on like this.
They have been
Even
removed
the
from-
Federation are fueling this.
They've been
And I
removed
would
from driving
expect
duties.
the Federation to be a lot more
The
professional.
Federation agrees
and not
with me.
fuel-
They've been removed
yeah,
from their
they're
duties.
fueling this hysteria.